Hi, I'm Margot Middleton. I'm a city councillor, and being on Kamloops Last Week is the funnest thing I have done.
We are live, everybody, but we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of this music. It's episode 69 of Kamloops Last Week. Folds, anything on 69?
Well, man went to the moon in 1969, and that to me is when I think of 1969, I think of that. And I think Woodstock, right, Mike? Wasn't Woodstock, Bill?
I think Woodstock was then, yeah. 69,
so it was a kind of a big year, eh, when, everything moved forward there. What about you, Greg, the engineer? What do you think when you think of 69?
Bill and Ted's favorite number.
Bill and Ted's favorite number?
Yeah. I think of things like Bryan Adams or the 69 Mustang that my uncle had that I was in love with.
There you go. It's a big number.
Cool. We got a big show today. Margot Middleton, Kamloops City Councillor. She'll be in the hot seat to talk to us about everything Kamloops, City of Kamloops, Council. We also have Connor Bedard today, kind of. He's doing a press conference in Kamloops at about 10:30. If you don't know who he is, he's a hockey player. He's 17 years old. He's a phenom. He plays for the Regina Pats, and they are rolling through BC. They're selling out buildings everywhere they go. They play Kamloops tonight.
Everybody wants to talk to Connor Bedard because he is, as you say, a generational player. And he was the first player in Western Hockey League history to be granted special exemption status, which means he could play younger than when he was 15, I think, rather than 16. And he's the first player ever to do that in the Western League. So he's like, they're saying he'd be like Connor McDavid. He'll be like Sidney Crosby. He'll be that good, and that's why people want to see him.
It's a little bit weird for our show because we don't know what he's going to say at this press conference. We don't know if it's going to be interesting or not, so we're just going to play some of this press conference. We can't analyze it because we don't know what he's going to say. Hoping to also speak to John Paddock, the GM of the Pats. Lots going on there with him, and potential trade talk with Bedard coming here, and he was asked about it. He said it was a stupid question. We got an email, Kamloops Media, saying please do not ask our GM about Connor Bedard trades, which we are going to anyway, so the press conference could be juicy. So stay tuned for that.
Well, it makes sense to not ask would be to not ask the question that everybody wants asked, because you mentioned before that Kamloops is hosting the Memorial Cup, and every team that hosts the Cup wants to beef up their team, almost like you sell everything to win the Cup and then you rebuild. And Connor Bedard's from West Vancouver. This is his home province. So the question everybody is asking, that John Paddock's getting tired of, is will they trade him if they're not in a run to make the playoffs or to go far?
Yeah, and we're going to get into that more in my segment at the end of the show, so stay tuned. Tattle of Hastings. Meanwhile, we have a new segment debuting next week. Bill, can you hit the video, please? Reader's Digest, that's our mayor, Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson, and he's going to join us monthly the first Wednesday of every month to talk about whatever's going on in the city.
Yeah, the first appearance is scheduled for December 7th, so it should be good.
Isn't it the 6th?
6th, 7th.
What's next Wednesday?
7th, December 7th, yes.
Okay, December 7th is the first segment. We're looking for sponsors for the naming rights. So
Reader's Digest, sponsored by?
Brought to you by?
Maybe Chapters Bookstore, something like that would be good, eh?
Maybe Cold Control Mechanical.
Yes, Vinny, the guy.
What happened there?
Well, my furnace grenaded itself. Well, actually, you know what? It didn't grenade itself. What happened was there's a flaw in the furnace design itself, going way back to 20 years ago, where the secondary condenser combustion chamber failed, putting CO2 into the furnace.
And you thought right away, because of this show and the advertising that's done on the show, who did you think to call?
Absolutely called Vinny at Cold Control Mechanical, and he came out. He of course does stuff with us with our commercial stuff as well, but he came out and had a look, and you know, it's about getting the right guy with the right tools and honesty, a big shot of honesty, because he said, look, hey, this could be under warranty. You know what? I think I'm going to probably chat with Vinny, and he's going to put a new furnace in anyways.
Honesty is the most important thing, especially for service calls. Even if they pay a little more, as long as they're not going to come back the next day because something else screwed up, right?
Well, it's Vinny and Dustin. They do a great job. They are honest. They're fair. And they don't always do residential, though. They want to focus more on commercial. We should mention that. And hopefully maybe they want to come back on our show and sponsor, perhaps, Reader's Digest. Now, last weekend, all three of us, I should say it's Chris Folds, Greg the engineer, Magic, Mike, and Bill at the controls today, but it was just us three again, as we always do this time of year. And what were we doing last weekend together?
We were looking for a place to go ice skating because it was cold and thought it would be nice to do that.
Right, at Folds, as he normally does, he comes up with these great ideas. And what was your idea?
Well, I said, why don't we stop by McDonald's, get some hot coffees, 2 each, because we're going to be out there for a while.
And because they're so cheap, they're only $1.
$1.05 with tax. And
$2 for a latte.
That's right. Yeah. So we went and I bought the coffees because that's the magnanimous guy I am. And we went to, I said, let's go to Inks Lake. I didn't realize how windy it was, but
you actually had free coupons. So you're cheap. You didn't buy anything.
Yes.
We know that.
two for what? He's Scottish. Yeah,
He's Scottish. Yes. We went out to Inks Lake, but on the way, because you were feeling a little bit famished, I know we stopped in somewhere.
Yeah. So it's going to sound really crazy, but you know, I got a cheeseburger as well. We got the coffees in Valley View. We stopped in up on the hill, got some cheeseburgers, and
you actually overindulged. I think you had about 8 coffees because they were so cheap. So what did we have to do? We had to go to get the Strauss. We had to get Strauss prostate drops to clear you out from New Leaf Produce Market because you can't help yourself. The coffees are so good. You start drinking so many of them.
It is true. You know, I am really good, and my brain doesn't tell me when to stop. But you know, the house drops really do help out a lot.
It's the house ones and so do the Strauss ones. And also, what happens too, if you have 48 coffees like you do, eventually you burn out and you fall flat down. Luckily, we were at Gord's at the time, Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center, and you fell onto a ceiling. Yeah,
and you know what's amazing is that Chris was on the other side of the bed with his coffee, and even though I fell hard, all 200 pounds of me, it didn't bump him at all, and his coffee didn't spill.
That's because of the proprietary technology in keeping the springs solid, so that if your partner turns, you only know they're in the bed.
That's right.
Everybody wins again. Great job, guys. And I know, Chris, that you have a score to settle with me.
I do, yes, because we wager often on this webcast and elsewhere. So the last wager we had was whether Canada, the men's soccer team, would escape their group of the World Cup. I said they would not. You said they would. Alas, they have not. So I
stand by my passion and patriotism. You obviously don't love your country and you don't believe in them. I did. They should have advanced. They should have beat Belgium. I blame, Herdman for not putting David to take that kick. If they score first,
that they would have won that game.
I think they win that
and
game.
I would have won that huge bet, and my son would have won $1,000. So I blame Herdman. He owes my son $1,000, basically.
Exactly. I'm sure he's got bigger things to worry about. I pay my bets.
And Herdman, it should be noted, he also coached the women to greatness before he moved over to the men. So he's a good coach.
I read about him too. He had a really tough upbringing. He was a fighter near Newcastle. He had a terrible parental
Never
situation.
played professional soccer, but always wanted to be in the game. He's almost like, what's his name? Matt Bardsley.
Yeah, Matt Bardsley, who was a drummer, by the way, if you didn't know that. Matt Bardsley, the former GM of the Blazers, was a drummer.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Never. I don't think he even skate, and he's one of the best GMs in junior hockey. Kind of interesting.
Okay, let's move on because it's 9:20. Margot's out in the parking lot right now, and we were supposed to talk about David Eby and Tim Schultz still.
We can talk about it at the end.
We'll talk about that at the end. Let's move on to Above the Folds with Margot Middleton, brought to you by Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please.
Freaking $500 hydro bill, piece of trash.
I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal, you should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can show you some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money's not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle-of-the-road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget-friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if we can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go. Seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
Before we introduce Margot Middleton, some housekeeping I forgot to do. Chris, who's this?
This is the Bear, the KTW Bear. And in today's newspaper, Wednesday, November 30th, print edition of Kamloops This Week, there's an explanation of what these things are. You visit a dozen or two different retailers in town. You shop local, you enter a contest. Every store will give away one of these bears of varying sizes. And then everybody who enters, even those who don't win the bear, are entered into a grand prize draw. And the first prize is a Dunes golf pass for the season. Second prize is a $1,000 gift certificate to Safeway. Third prize, $500 at the Safeway gas bar. The bears are cool.
We also have Christmas cheer going on, and we'll talk more about that later. This is Brad Marchand. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, Margot.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me here.
How's the first month been?
It's been lots of learning. I've found out that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, and
I think everybody
lots
finds
and
that,
lots to
yeah.
learn.
Mm-hmm. Give us
So
an example of that. Like what were some things?
Well, I think there's probably not a lot of realization from even those, working closely with the city on that, is how much the city actually does, what the city is responsible for, how many sort of pieces of the community that work directly with the city. There's organizations that I didn't know existed that come up regularly now in conversation and email and whatnot around the city that I wasn't aware of. Mm-hmm. And so we're a big city with a lot on the go, and council is a lot of the decision making, a lot of the stuff that's going on throughout the city is in council's hands to make those decisions. And so big task.
Yeah, for sure.
Why do you think you resonated with voters? And how thrilled were you to get in?
Well, I think perhaps the fact that I've been in Kamloops a long time and a fairly familiar face to a lot of people, particularly those that might have been, had children the same age as mine, and were, when I was very involved with a lot of sports associations, hockey. I spent, half my life in a rink.
You were on various hockey boards. I saw in your. So was that for your kids in there? You also like hockey?
Yeah, no, that's it. Started with my kids being involved and stepping up. I think I started as a team manager because every team needs a manager, and then evolved from there, and then through various positions in minor hockey, all the way up to sort of a VP, rep director, and whatnot. And it was a significant part-time job back in those days, all done by volunteers. We didn't have any paid staff at all in minor hockey back in those days, so volunteerism was the key to minor hockey's success, and still is today. Yes, but that. So a lot of people would have known me through that. A lot through my business that I've been working at on a full-time basis, local here for the
business.
past
I wanted to ask you
35
about
years.
that because it's Middleton Installations.
Yes.
Is it? And I looked it up, and I'm no handyman guy, but is it basically you install and you remove and you do other stuff with fuel tanks for petrol stations? No.
Yes, that would be a sort of a brief
Concise,
version or sort of what we do.
So you
because
can
we
go
touch
in there
on
and
many
you can
things.
take out a tank and put it back in?
Me, myself?
Yeah.
I could tell somebody how to do it. I don't know
That's
that physically
impressive,
I could go and do it, but I've been doing this for 35 years. I started my first office desk, or our office was my kitchen table. Our residential home phone became our business phone. Wow. And so I have been sort of, processing work, invoicing, bidding jobs, organizing them for many, many years, and it was something that I basically learned as I went.
Literally learned on the job.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly, very much.
How do you think that business acumen is going to help you on council?
I think that it gives me a little bit of an on-hand knowledge of how employees and businesses, and the city is a business, it's a corporation, how we need to interact with our employees, who are our most valuable asset. You can't run anything without people, so we need to have that firsthand on how to treat our city staff and our city employees the best way possible to keep them engaged and to get the big job of running the city done. So I think first and foremost is when you're running business and you're signing the paychecks, and you're trying to make sure that your staff is staying sort of engaged with you, buy-in, all those sort of factors. I deal with that on a daily basis and have for years, and I think that that's helpful to have on council some people who have been, sort of either previous in business or still in business, to be able to dial into that key component of your human resources, your people, as being your most valuable asset.
Switching gears a bit, homelessness, you care about homelessness and doing better in that area. So how are we doing and how can we do better?
Well, I think we can certainly do better. It's a huge task and getting bigger as time progresses, and certainly in the winter the challenges with shelter and trying to keep the homeless housed in somewhere safe for them is a challenge. The city works with a lot of the agencies. I know our current mayor, that is first and foremost on his agenda right now, is to try and make better our situation, but it's a big task and there's many players in it. So
on that matter there, how do you feel about the way he's handled that with the visits, and then BC Housing saying, can you please stop handling it in that way, and him saying, I'm not going to do that until people are housed? So how do you think about that?
Well, I think there are two fronts. I mean, we have to remember too that our suppliers to the city or to the homeless within our city, whether they be contracted by the provincial government, there's federal money coming in, however that's being funded and housed, these are also businesses and they have human resources too. So I think we need to look at how we're treating them and our expectation. Yes, we want them to be doing the best job possible, but right now, doing the best job possible is really tough for everybody, whether it's nonprofit societies, whether it's whether it's Ask, whether it's BC Housing, no matter who it is, we're all faced with really similar challenges, and that's our ability to have enough manpower to do the job, to keep that manpower safe and healthy. We're all faced with the same thing. So back to your question of, what do I think about the mayor sort of going on?
His approach to it.
His approach is very, I'm going to say, in your face. Is he's not giving anybody a free ride. And for our city, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I commend the mayor for being so involved in that.
On that note about the homelessness, the social disorder, people on the streets who might be victims of their own circumstances and don't know it. During the election campaign and before, a number of councillors, Mike O'Reilly was one, and David Eby, before he became premier, said, because people were saying, is out of control, we need to help the people. And David Eby and O'Reilly both said they're in favor of mandatory treatment or bringing people, even if it's against their will, so they can get better. That's very controversial. The civil libertarians are saying, no, you can't do it. New York mayor just yesterday, big news in the States, said forthwith everybody who's on the street and doesn't need to be there is going to be admitted to a hospital, psychiatric hospital, whether they want to go or not, until they're better. And it's a big deal down there. A lot of people are applauding it, a lot of people are criticizing it. What's your view on that?
If I had to say on just sort of a one-liner, I would say I am in favor. Mm-hmm. So I feel that the situation has grown to the point now where we are not going to be able to manage it, or the people that are suffering by just allowing this situation to continue as it is. So I think that's going to need to be potentially like a tool in the toolbox that we in BC are going to have to help manage. But that being said, is we don't have enough facilities.
Yeah.
We don't all say, well, yeah, we're
So that's
just going to
all
haul you all in.
predicated
We're
on-
just going
yeah.
to, we're going to, we're going to place you all into some sort of a facility, and we're going to give you all this helping hand to get over or try and
That needs
recover.
to be there first, absolutely.
But I mean, it's going to take years to ramp up and get enough facilities, or facilities in the right places, the right size, staff to manage and maintain them. I mean, it's you can't just say, well, we're going to build a building,
No.
and this is where you're all going to go. It has to be.
And on that note, those years are going to go by anyway, so get started on it, right? Stop.
Well,
what
get
mayors
started
do?
on it,
Stop
but it's-
talking and start doing it. Start
And it's
doing it.
probably, I mean, we're going to get a lot worse before we
Yeah.
get better, just, on our own. Just maintaining or keeping the system as it is it's only going to get worse.
We always like to give Mike Miltimore a question, Magic Mike, for our councillors. Anything there, Mike?
Well, last week I went on a time journey with Mike O'Reilly, and it got a little heated there, I guess, a little bit. But so I want to go nice and easy with you, but I also want to take you on a time journey back into the 90s, the golden era of Kamloops. And I'm always all about the music end of things and the arts and that end of things. We had a group called TKO, Teens of Kamloops Organization, and that was put on by the city of Kamloops and an employee named Einar Larson. And Einar would put on activities, band concerts, all these kind of things to help support our youth playing music in our community. That has seemingly disappeared completely. We've lost venues and we've lost some of that support. Are you supportive of having a group like that started again within the city to help encourage and support our youth musicians?
I am, and if we are to do this as a back in time, and when we talk about the 90s, let me go back to the 70s.
I like the 70s. There are lots of great
let
music.
me go back to the 70s. So when I was in high school, one of our significant teen groups in Kelowna and throughout the Okanagan, and Kamloops actually at one point in time had their own branch of Teen Town. You were
Teen Town Mayor.
I was a Teen Town Mayor. That
There
was
you go. So
Watch out,
Watch out,
Reid.
watch out.
She's coming
Yep.
after you.
Teen Town Mayor,
That's
as
right.
well as involved in the other associations that comprised the group of teen towns. So we had North Okanagan Teen Association, we had South Okanagan Teen Association. So the various teen associations all belonged to this sort of governing body that directed how teen towns operated and under what parameters. So we went to conventions. We were part of, I was also the, I think we called it the president, but the teen, the South Okanagan Teen Association. We went to different and varying things. We raised money. We were big supporters back in that day of the March of Dimes, where we had events and raised money. We would put somebody up on top of the E&W drive-in on a bike and they, or just on a exercise bike, and they had to pedal for hours for donations. And we hosted major events during Kelowna Regatta. We brought in bands. We brought in, back in the day, we had Chilliwack perform. We had the Stampeders. We had Merrily
Fly-by-night.
Rush.
Oh, the Stampeders.
So
Rush.
if you go way back in when this was the type of things that our teen town was doing. And it was a great time, and it was a great organization, and it brought together, sort of teens from all walks.
We need to take the time machine back to 2022, though, and what can we do now, though, I think, right, Mike?
I would be happy to volunteer and be part of something that would help empower and support our youth.
And I would certainly be in favor of that. And part of my platform when I was running was Kamloops Youth. I
Yes.
really
Yeah.
think that we need to do more, and we need to provide opportunities for our youth to belong to groups and associations that they can resonate with too. You don't want to create or have something and they're just going, look, I don't think I'd really that doesn't interest me. I wouldn't want to belong to that, or I see no value in that.
You
So
know,
you
when
have to
I,
create stuff that the youth can buy into and they would like to participate in.
In Abbotsford, when I lived there and worked at the paper there, the city had a bunch of committees, just like, and one of them was the Youth Commission. And on the Youth Commission was a city councillor and some adults, but a lot of youth from the school. So maybe that could be one of Reid's task force / committees. You know how we have the heritage and we have our recreation? Maybe have a youth commission, and have the kids from the school tell the city what the youth need.
Yeah.
Someone would be
that could be
perfect for that
something,
committee
and you could
sitting
be on
right
the
here.
committee right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
There you go.
I could be.
Yeah.
No, that would
There you
be
go.
that would be a super idea. No, engaging the youth and getting them involved and giving them a place to meet as groups and gather and have fun events, stuff they want to do.
Okay.
One last
One
question.
last question.
It's an important question. In the October 15th civic election, there were 38 people running for 3 levels of office: mayor, councillor, school trustee. Of those 38, only one pledged to give all of her earnings to charity.
Oh, yes.
And that was Margot Middleton. So that's $40,000 plus. A, are you still going to do it? B, have you chosen a charity? If not, C, KLW Christmas Cheer Fund sounds like a pretty damn good place to send that money. Where are we at with that?
So yes, that is still my intention to donate my after-tax dollars. There was no way to just sort of say, hey, don't pay me, send the money somewhere
Yeah.
else. That's not an option. I checked into that. So I do have to receive the money. I do have to claim it as
Right.
income. I have worked, hard throughout my life. I've been very fortunate. These funds that are coming to me, from my work with the city is not funds that I need to put groceries on my table or pay a mortgage or anything like that. I'm fortunate that way, and I would like to see that money go back to the community. I have not exactly figured where that will go, but I would like to make sure that it goes back to societies and charities and whatnot that provide benefit to the residents of Kamloops.
Oh, one more question. What do you do for fun? What are some of your hobbies?
Well, I golf badly.
Okay.
So
Are you a member somewhere?
I do ladies' night up at Bighorn
Yeah,
or
Bighorn.
Sun Rivers back in the day. There was a time when I golfed a lot more, but now I usually just golf once a week. We spend a lot of time up. We have a recreational home up in East Barrier, so I spend quite a bit of time up there. I do a fair amount of sports watching and with my grandchildren, of whom I have many. And if I sort of say what's the one thing I do just for me, for fun, and they'll probably think this is the most boring thing in the world, but I love doing jigsaw puzzles. So
Jigsaw puzzles. Oh, okay.
if I have spare time or if I've got like 10 minutes, I always like to have a jigsaw puzzle on the go. And
Have you ever done one of the 3D ones?
No, I'm chicken.
My
on
son
those.
did one with the Space Needle. It's very hard to do.
I know, and I like doing jigsaw puzzles to be my relaxation and enjoy it. So I like
Probably
to do puzzles
keeps,
that I know that I can actually do,
good.
and I have a reasonable chance of actually finishing it in a somewhat decent time.
Well, you've been a wonderful piece of our puzzle on the show today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, what can I get for you?
Oh, I'd like to make an announcement, please. I love McDonald's. I truly, madly, deeply do. And I'd like to order 2 medium coffee, both with 2 cream.
Good shit. Do you like a shut up espresso at any of those today?
Oh, I think I'm good on that. I'm fired up enough here.
I guess the first thing we should talk about is how cool this night is for hockey fans. Greg, the engineer, you're going tonight. What are you most excited about tonight?
Seeing a big star like Connor Bedard.
There you go. And tons of young hockey fans. My buddy Dewey was in town from Vernon the other night. He went to the Kelowna game with his kids. So many kids want to come see this young man play. He's amazing. They're selling out all the buildings. It's a great night for Kamloops hockey fans.
It is. I'm going to be there tonight. I'm going to be watching it with my son because when my son was back in Montreal going to school, he actually said, when he's coming back here, he said, hey, the Pats coming to town because he wants to see him. So
Yeah.
everybody wants to see this kid play. So the pressure on this kid must be immense.
Yeah, and right now Regina 3-0 on this road trip.
Yeah.
They beat Vancouver 3-0, Victoria 9-5, Kelowna last night, 6-5 in overtime.
Yep.
Bedard didn't have a great game last night, but he assisted on
assist,
the OT
yep.
winner. So now this game in Kamloops, for so many reasons, has more marquee to it. Can Kamloops stop their run through the BC division?
Can they be the one team? Do they go to Prince George after this?
They go to
I think
PG after this.
So
yeah.
can they be the first team to stop the Pats and stop the next generational player?
I'm pretty sure it's clear that John Paddock and the Pats don't love the Kamloops media, and they don't want us to ask questions about the trade because he's probably sick of them.
Yep.
Steve Ewan of the province asked Paddock that question right before the road trip started in Vancouver, and he said, that's a stupid question. That's a stupid question. There's only one place that's coming out of, and that's in BC. Mm-hmm. I think he was referring to Kamloops. It's obviously not a stupid question. I think John Paddock was trying to control the narrative before the road trip to try and scare reporters off from asking the question, which is not going to happen. And then we get an email from the Blazers via the Pats. So the Pats saying Connor Bedard and John Paddock will not be answering trade questions. As for Bedard, of course, I would not ask a 17-year-old player, do you think you're going to be traded? That's cool. I'm not going to ask him that question. That's not for him. John Paddock, it's fair game for that question. So we're going to go to this press conference, or I am, in about 20 minutes, and the Kamloops media is all geared up for it, and we're hopefully going to get to ask this question. We'll see how it goes. We'll play some of the video.
You edit it together, and it'll be on this show after we're talking here.
It could be very short. Maybe it's one question, and he says bye-bye.
He might be sitting. He might pull out. Well, Brooksy, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Has ownership ruled out a Connor Bedard trade?
No, so I just heard today on Christmas thing, there's like 300 different languages that some song is sang, so do you speak some different language?
What's that, sorry?
Do you speak some different language?
No, I speak English.
It's been said what's done. Okay, so
Why have we been asked not to ask you about
because
that?
if you're working for the Blazers, I'm filing tampering charges.
I don't work for the Blazers.
Okay. But never before in the history of the league has there been asked about a player. This started in June in this town. So again, you must not be speaking English because instead what's going to happen?
What is it going to be like to play against Logan, the guy you won gold medals with in teams in the world?
Yeah, it'll be exciting. I mean, he's probably the best player in the league, so to match up against him is going to be fun and a good challenge for us, and we're excited for that.
Sorry, did you think Logan Stankoven is the best player in the league? Isn't that you?
No, I mean he's nuts. I mean what he's doing. I mean I try to watch him a lot and stuff, and what he's done in this league is crazy. So I wouldn't say I'm better than him, but it's going to be a fun game.
I asked Logan about playing you. He said he wants to outcompete you. He said it's a chance for him to show that he's a big dog too. So what do you make of the challenge of playing Logan?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that much. I mean, it's Regina versus Kamloops still. It's not a two-man thing, but whenever you get to play against one of those guys, it's obviously fun and it's going to be competitive, and but I'm going to play my game and he's going to play his game. So I don't know how much we'll get into 1v1 sort of thing.
So what's your relationship like with Sean Closty?
We made lots of great deals. From my first year in the league, we traded him Hunt and Burrows for Connor Hobbs in a big deal, and Matt Bradley acquired from him. So Sean and I have a good relationship.
So why do you think there has been so much chatter in this town about you guys are making up?
I talked to Fraser Minton, your old friend, and I asked him to put himself in your shoes with all the media frenzy. And he said he wondered if you don't ever wish you could just not have it, if you just play hockey. I mean, do you ever feel like that?
It depends on the day, I guess. I mean, sometimes you're not really feeling it, but I mean, it's part of it, and I don't mind it. It's people aren't asking you, then there's a problem. So I think it's a good thing, and you try to enjoy it as much as you can.
Great. I mean, you can understand why the whole hockey world wants to know.
No, he has a no trade clause. He does not want to be traded. He's not going anywhere. We don't want to trade him, and he doesn't want to be traded. It's simple.
That's all we're looking for.
No, it's not all you're looking for because it's been going on since June.
I've never asked you the question. Never had the opportunity.
But you probably wrote about it or asked somebody about it. No, it's okay. We'll get them to understand someday.
What is your policy with social media? And that's where a lot of that noise comes from. I mean, do you try and stay away from it, or how do you deal with it?
I mean, yeah, I'm not really on it too much. I'm just, posting the odd thing, whatever. But, for me, it's just trying to stay away from it, like you said. I mean, when you see stuff you can't control, it's not a big deal. But I think if you see stuff all the time, then, you kind of maybe get focused on the wrong things.
What's been more of a grind for you this season, or what we're doing here today? You think you would have got back to Kamloops from Kelowna last night at probably 1:30 in the morning after an overtime game where you played a ton, and now you're trotted out here to all these media, people asking you questions about the draft. I spoke to you at 15, and you were kind of had a smile on your face and liked doing it. But I'm thinking after a couple of years of this, it's been a lot for you.
Yeah, I mean it's good though. I'm not. I don't hate it, but I think sometimes, like you said, I got in pretty late last night, so a little tired. Might not be as jumpy as it was a couple of years ago, but no, I mean it's all right, and obviously it's part of it, like I said.
I mean, that's good. People want to know about what are the risks of not doing it. I mean,
What do you mean, what are the risks?
I mean, you got the chance to set up the franchise for the future.
I've been through both. I've rebuilt. I've had to spend like crazy when we host the Memorial Cup because we're better next year.
I know there's
nothing
also,
to do with it.
There's also sides why I can understand why the Pats wouldn't want to do it for having him being
We're
drafted.
not doing it. It's not wanting to. We're not doing it. And Connor has the final say. He has a no trade. He wants to be a Regina Pat and finish his career in Regina. Clear.
Thank you.
That was fun. Should mention also, well, I don't know if it was fun. It might have been terrible. Who knows? But
I think I'm just guessing as Nostradamus looking into the future and coming back. I think you got yelled at. That's what I'm guessing. That's all. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking.
And Fraser Minton saying, I thought it was interesting. I bet you. I asked him, put yourself in Connor's shoes, and he said, I wonder if he doesn't think, man, I wish sometimes the media would just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just want to play hockey, and I can understand that too. I mean, like you said, it's a ton of pressure.
Yep.
Apparently, he's handling it really well.
Yeah. He's getting used to it.
And I understand why Regina wants to protect him. Let's move on. David Eby.
Yeah, David Eby. Oh, we were going to talk about some healthcare news. David Eby has been doing a lot of announcements since he got in, and the latest, and there's a local one that's kind of tied to it. David Eby has he opened up some more spots for doctors. He's trying to ease the hoops that internationally trained doctors must go through when they come here to start practicing, to speed it up. Right now, if you're trained elsewhere as a doctor and you come to BC, a lot of times you have to wait years because you have to upgrade and meet the standards here. Where some of the countries where you come from, the standards are just fine. I interviewed BC Liberal leader Kevin Falcon a couple of weeks ago. He brought that up as an issue. He said there's a lot of British Columbia kids who go elsewhere, Poland, Barbados, to become doctors, to learn how to be doctors, because there's not enough room here. But when they come back, they can't practice for a while because the standards have to be met up. And he says it can be done easier, faster. EB's doing that now. And locally, Tim Schultz, our former boss, he's now the executive director of the Thompson Region Family Division. It's a division of that helps doctors recruit.
Who without him we wouldn't have this show.
That's
so
right.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, Schultz, he helped set up this show. So he's part of the Thompson Region Family Division of Doctors. I can't remember the full name, but what they do is it's a provincially funded group that helps recruit and retain doctors for each region. And what they've done is they've started a sponsorship thing. They're asking businesses, corporations, maybe like Margot Middleton, or maybe like Lee's Music and River Song Guitar, to donate money to help them send staff to all these job recruiting fairs all over North America. And they go and say, hey, why should you come and practice in Kamloops? Here's the incentives. So basically, you sponsor a doctor. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing. It's basically donating money. Companies donate money to this group that Tim Schultz runs. He sends his staff to job fairs, basically, to convince doctors to come here. And he says, if we don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Whatever we can do sounds good to me. I mean, who here? I don't have a family doctor. Do you guys have a family doctor?
I do, yes.
Mike does. Greg does. No.
I do in Logan Lake.
Bill has one in Logan Lake.
Logan Lake, there you go, yeah. So it's interesting what they're doing. Like, the thinking outside the box is what they're doing. And some people will say, well, that shouldn't have to be done. But if you look back, the hospital foundations, I thought they were a new thing. They're not. Like the Sunshine Coast Hospital Foundation was founded in 1930 to build a hospital there, and the provincial government said, okay, but you got to raise so much money, and we'll put the rest in. Burnaby General Hospital was built in 1942. Same thing. The Burnaby Hospital Foundation volunteers came together. They had to raise so much money, and the provincial and federal governments gave more money. That's before Medicare came in, before the Canada Health Act came in 1965. So that was before it was a public healthcare system. So it's always been like this. It's never been 100% the government will pay for medical. There's always been these tiers.
Why are there so many South African doctors? Do we know this?
I don't know, but there are a lot here.
There's so many. Even back growing up in White Rock, we had my buddy Lawrence Perald, a doctor. It just seemed like every time I go into the walking clinic, it's a South African. What's the reason?
I don't know, but I had 2 doctors when I first moved to Kamloops. The first one was Dr. Kruger from South Africa, and then he moved. He was replaced by another Dr. Kruger from South Africa, no relation. And then he moved, and that left me without a doctor. So I don't know why, but there's a lot of South African
Kruger
doctors.
Park in South Africa, I've been there. Have you?
No, I have not.
Wildlife Park.
But I've seen Freddy Krueger in that movie where he was in your dreams all the time. So
David Eby's very tall. You like that?
He's like 6'9" or something. Tall drink
You're
of water.
obsessed with it.
And his wife is a family doctor as well. David Eby. There you go.
Is her name first name Kruger?
It might be. I'm not sure. Yes, but yeah, she went back to school to become a doctor. And he talked about the story about how she went there and how it took a long time and everything. But anyway, so yeah, he's close to the situation because his wife's a doctor, so she probably knows about. She's a family doctor, so she probably knows about the pressures of being a family doctor. You're a small business person actually, and it's a lot of work. So anyway,
anything else? I'm glad Connor Bedard was overseeing this conversation.
Absolutely, yeah,
doctors.
Well, yeah, and there you go. He's a doctor on ice. This guy, he has surgical precision when he scores his goals. Absolutely, yes.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the great win that happened on Sunday night. In the downtown Kamloops core, where we had the biggest crowd I've ever seen.
I was there. I took some video. I was at the Santa Claus parade because my stepdaughter Isabel and her class at Kamloops School of the Arts were dancing. And it was it was magical. I don't mean to be all like syrupy and shit, but it was magical because we were on St. Paul waiting, freezing death. No toque, no gloves. I didn't think it'd be that cold. It was very cold. Yeah. But the snow just started to fall, and the lights on all the floats, and they started moving just as the snow was falling. It was almost like one of those Capra movies.
How did Slayer perform?
That's why Hallmark comes here so much.
It's so nice.
It's so beautiful.
And you were there too.
Yeah. So our entire team, Bill, Greg, a bunch of our teachers and ex-employees, all got together, and we formed a metal marching band named Slayer, Sleighger.
Right. Yeah.
And we decked out our truck with lighting and truss and.
You
smoke.
won what prize did you get?
Third place for Santa Claus.
That's
award,
right.
Yes.
And my stepdaughter's school, Kamloops School there, so they got second place for their float. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Good.
There you go.
I was not there. I didn't go this year.
It was nice. It was really cool. It was and it was very successful. In fact, so successful that Howie Reimer, we should have him on the show one of these times to talk about downtown stuff. Howie Reimer, the executive director of Downtown Kamloops, he said that they're going to try to increase the number of floats. They had to cap it at 58 this year because of insurance purposes, and he had, I think, a waiting list of maybe dozens.
I see him at the gym, Howie. I'll ask him. But I remember he went on Twitter one time saying, or Facebook saying, how he hates talking to people at the gym. Mm-hmm. But then we run into each other and like we kind of have these conversations. So I feel like I shouldn't be talking to him because is he annoyed the whole time? I don't like to talk to people at the gym either.
No, he's also.
But I like Howie. So what do we do here?
He's a tall drink of water, right? You got to talk to him.
You
like
love
this
how
too,
tall people are.
Well, he's a tall guy. You got to look up to him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I like Howie.
Howie's a great guy.
Just the gym, now like the gym kind of etiquette, I don't know what to do.
I think we should mob him at the gym. All come up and just talk to him.
Say, hey Howie, how's it going? Want to come on the show?
You should tell people. What gym is that? Planet Fitness?
Planet Fitness.
So if you're Planet Fitness and you see tall Howie Reimer, he wants you to go up and say hi to him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, turned out to be a pretty fun show. Margot was great. So was Herman and Gord Stevens from Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. Herman Hothy from New Leaf Produce Market. We love Brandy Seagon from McDonald's as well. My guy Steve Rogers as well from Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. Anything else? Oh, Lee Malbuff.
Yeah, bad beef.
We love Lee Malbuff. We love Scott Finley and the Grand Ones. Chris Folds, Greg the Engineer, Magic Mike, and Bill. See you last week.